क्या कट गया क्या?
हो गया लामा जी, ठीक ठीक ठीक।
बुद्धो सुसुद्धो करुणा महानभो जो छंत शुद्ध बर ज्ञान लोचनो लोकस पाप पकिलेश घाट को बन्दामि बुद्धं अहमादरेण तम् बुद्धं शरणं गच्छामि धम्मं शरणं गच्छामि संघं शरणं गच्छामि। Good morning and a warm welcome. Good morning and a warm welcome this morning for the 2 days 9th International Conference on Pali and Buddhism, with special reference to Samatha and Vipassana, praxis and application, which is being organized by the Mahabodhi Society of India in collaboration with the Anagarika Dharmapala International Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Sarnath. Our keynote speaker this morning is Professor Rangaraj Chaudhary from Igatpuri, Maharashtra. The guest of honor, Professor Pradeep P. Gokhale from Pune. Dr. Mahendra Singh, the President of the Mahabodhi Society of India, presides over this inaugural session. After this inaugural session is over, we commence with the academic session, which will be concluded by the valedictory sessions. The sessions has been organized in this academic session, which will be concluded with the valedictory session on the last day. So commencing this inaugural session, I would now invite Dr. Bimlendra Kumar, Sir, Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Faculty of Arts, Banaras Hindu University, to please welcome the distinguished academicians, upasakas, upasikas, linked this morning for this two-day conference.
Thank you, Lama ji. Namo Buddhaya. Good morning to everybody. It is really a great pleasure for Mahabodhi Society of India that it is continuing its effort for reviving the ideals of Buddhism. Since Mahabodhi Society of India, which was established in 1891, Mahabodhi Society of India is devoted in the upliftment of the humanity or humanism, as well as in the propagation of teachings of the Buddha. Mahabodhi Society of India has completed 131 years since its inception. So it was in 2014, Mahabodhi Society of India decided to organize an international conference on Pali and Buddhism with a view to promote the study of Pali language and literature, as well as propagate the teachings of the Buddha to the human personality. It was in 2014, in September 16, 2000, the 2 days national conference was organized And it was decided in the concluding ceremony of this International Conference of Pali that it will be continued. And it will continue the ideals of the teachings of the Buddha in the propagation of the humanity. The main objective of this conference was to bring the scholars of Pali and Buddhist studies at one platform and exchange their ideas and share their new researches in the discipline of Buddhist studies as well as Pali language and literature. So in this conference in 2014, various aspects which related with the Pali language literature in general and Theravada Buddhism in particular were discussed. In that conference, which was in the commemoration of 150th birth anniversary of Bodhisattva Anagarik Dharmapal, 10 eminent scholars of Pali were also awarded Bodhisattva Anagarik Dharmapal Samman. Again, in continuation 2015, we are continuing till 2019. Since COVID-19, we are holding this international conference through online mode or virtual mode. And this is the 9th conference of Pali and Buddhism, which is being organized on virtual mode. So I welcome you all for this international conference on Pali and Buddhism, which is being organized by Mahabodhi Society of India, Kolkata, in collaboration of Anagarik Dharmapal International Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies, Sarnath. So on this inaugural session, I welcome our Honorable President of Mahabodhi Society of India, Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji, who had been a Special Secretary to Government of Uttar Pradesh. So I welcome on behalf of Mahabodhi Society of India, our Honorable President, Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji. I also welcome our trustee members, Dr. Surendra Mahapatra Ji, Dr. Deepak Chaudhary, and other trustee members. I also welcome Vice President of Mahabodhi Society of India, Professor Saraswati Mutsiddi, Dr. Kailash Prasad, Dr. Siddharth Mukherjee, Dr. N.K. Misra Ji, and other members. I also welcome all the governing body members who are present in this virtual conference of 9th International Conference of Pali and Buddhism. I also welcome all the life members of Mahabodhi Society of India, as well as all the lovers of Buddhism, as well as Upasak, Upasikas, venerable bhikkhus, bhikkhunis all over the globe. So the main objective of this 9th International Conference on Pali and Buddhism is to discuss the various aspects related with our meditations, that is the Samatha and Vipassana. Samatha is the calming down or tranquilizing the mind. And there are various aspects related with the Samatha. In another case, Samatha is the name of Rupa Dhyan or Rupa Dhyan or Arupa Dhyan. So Samatha and Vipassana are very profound teachings of the Buddha. And in the Samatha, the mind is tranquilized by means of concentrations, that is the meditation, while in Vipassana, a person is able to dispel the darkness of ignorance and visualizes that all things are subject to impermanence, all things are subject to suffering, and all dhammas are subject to soulless. There are two types of samatha, that is the first kind, the mind is concentrated on a particular object, that is the Rup Samadhi. And here it removes the 5 types of antidotes or hindrances, technically known as nivarnas, which put obstacle in the path of concentration. And in Arup Samadhi, that is the second part of our samatha, a person tries to concentrate on the forms which do not have any color and all. So there are 4 types of our Arupa Dhyan also. So samatha is the another name of Rupa Dhyan or Rupa Dhyan or Arupa Dhyan. In the samatha, a person is able to know that all things are subject to impermanence. But in the vipassana form of meditations, the meditations tries to concentrate upon the nature of the existence. And he tries to remove the darkness of ignorance, that is the avidya or avidya. And he meditates on the nature of his body and finds that it is full of foul materials, and there is nothing in it, and that one should covet it. Again, he meditates on his feelings also, that is the Vedana and sensations, and tries to remove all these things, and then tries to find out that there is a suffering, and he tries to remove the suffering also. So in that way, a meditator tries to meditate on the nature of the existence in general and discovers the truth in universal flux. And in that way, he is able to know that all things are subject to impermanence, all things are subject to suffering, and all dhammas are subject to suffering. So there are 2 essence of our samatha and vipassana, that is the smriti and samprajanya. Our honorable participants who are going to present their papers, they will throw light on this smriti and samprajanya in a very detailed manner. But it has been given that for samatha and vipassana, there is a need of mindfulness as well as samprajanya. So with these, and there are these samatha and vipassana, they have been discussed in various aspects of our Buddhism, whether it is in Theravada Buddhism or Mahayana Buddhism. So in various acharyas, we are having a detailed discussion on the samatha and vipassana. So this we are going to discuss in a very detailed manner. So the main objective of this virtual conference on Pali and Buddhism to discuss the various approaches of meditation, that is samatha and vipassana, as discussed in the various Buddhist literature in Theravada Buddhism or Mahayana Buddhism, and to come up with the innovative idea that how to utilize the application of it in our day-to-day life, how these teachings of the Buddha related with samatha and vipassana can be applied in our day-to-day life. With these words, I welcome once again to you all, the honorable members of our Mahabodhi Society of India, the participants, governing body members, trustee members, and lovers, upasaks, venerable monks, venerable bhikkhunis, who are joining this international conference on Pali and Buddhism. I believe that through your deliberations, this conference will be meaningful and successful. Thank you all. Over to Lamaji.
Retired from Navanalanda Mahavihara Nalanda Bihar, Professor Rangaraj Chaudhary, as the professor and head of the Department of Pali, and he had taught English Pali there for the past 30 years. While he was there at the Navanalanda Mahavihara, he critically edited 5 Pali Attakatas for the first time in Devanagari script, which were published from the Navanalanda Mahavihara. In the introduction to these Attakatas, he has brought out the characteristics of the Attakatas and the contributions made by Buddhaghosa and Dhammapala. He has attended several national and international seminars and conferences in India, Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Vietnam. Besides editing the Attakatas, he wrote more than 100 papers which were published in reputed journals. Essays on Buddhism and Pali literature containing 27 essays and aspects of Buddha Dhamma containing 35 essays are also published. The Telakattagata, with its Hindi and English translation and a long introduction, has also been published. Recognizing his outstanding scholarship in the field of Pali and Buddhist studies, the President of India honored him Certificate of Honor, and the Mahabodhi Society of India also has honored him with the Anagarika Dharmapala Samman in 2014. I would now like to invite Professor Angaraj Chaudhary to please deliver the keynote address.
Venerable monks and scholars who have assembled there, I am suffering from cold, so my voice will not be very clear to you, as you can see. In this lecture, that is entitled Samatha and Vipassana, I would like to tell you about my journey that I took on it, the journey that I made. After doing MA in English, I also did MA in Pali. And when I read Pali, I found something new in it, which I had not found in English literature and other literature. So that tempted me to do something more. Now I am telling you the milestones that I have covered on this long journey of trying to understand what Samatha is and what Vipassana is, and how Vipassana is going to do good to people. Let me tell you one incident. I read a paper in Jadavpur University in the English Teachers Conference, and I read a paper called Language and Culture. And there I wanted to prove that if you know the language of a person or of a community or of a country, you can understand its culture also. That was the theme of my paper. When I was reading it, in the middle of my paper, two persons from South got up and said, "No, young man, you are wrong. Language cannot express anything, everything. There are some experiences which cannot be expressed through words, through languages." I had made this conjecture on the basis of what I had read while I was doing my DLit thesis, and I had exhaustively worked on the powers of words, where Bhartrihari had said, "Naso asti pratyayo loke yah sabdanugamadrite anumidhamiva jnanam sarvam sabdena bhasate." There I was told by Bhartrihari, a great philosopher of words also, who said that words can express everything and anything. And it is on this basis that I had propounded the theory that if you know the words of a country, of a people, you can understand the culture. Then those professors got up and said to me, "No, young man, you are wrong. Had it been so, had the words been so powerful, then the Upanishadkars would not have said neti neti." This is the second stage in my understanding the power of words. Neti neti means not this, not this. Now, how could I understand it? What is the meaning of it? Take, for example, I'm giving you a simple example, Madhura. Madhur means meetha, sweet. Now, there is a slok in Sanskrit, Dadi Madhuram, Madhu Madhuram, Draksha Madhura, Sitapi Madhureva, Tasya Tadeva Hi Madhuram, jasya manojatra sanlagnam. So curd is sweet, honey is sweet, dadi madhurang madhumadang, draksha is also sweet, everything is sweet. You don't have any other word to express the sweetness of curd or the sweetness of honey or the sweetness of draksha. Only sweet, sweet is the word. So don't you think that the power of word is very limited? You can't express all feelings, all experiences through words. There have been theorists who say that I will make a word what I want it to mean. You know, there is a beautiful book called Alice in Wonderland. I have read that book. Try to read this and will find that is a wonderful book where one character says that I will make a word mean what I want it to mean. But that you cannot say, because experience, when you experience thing, you have the power of it. And that is why the Buddha makes a distinction between three kinds of panya. And I think this is a wonderful contribution to our culture, to our literature, to our thinking, and to our knowledge. This three power of words are Sutmaya Panya, Chintamaya Panya, and Bhavanamaya Panya. Buddha talks of all these. So Sutmaya means when you hear words and you get some idea of it. Chintanmayi, when you think about it and then you get some idea of something, that is thinking. But when you experience it, that kind of experiencing thing is quite different from what you get from thinking, from hearing something from somebody, or from somebody thinking about something. So this is quite different. When you experience something, your experience is quite different from what the people say to you and what you learn from books. That made me think a lot about it. What is Sutmaya? What is Chintamaya? Bhavanamaya Panya? I went on thinking about it, and all these things became very interesting to me, because I had read English literature, I had worked for D.Litt thesis, I had got my D.Litt also, and still I was wondering what the Buddha says all about these words. And then practically, I sat a Vipassana course in 1973 with Satyanarayan Goenkaji at Navnalanda Mahavihar. And there, I experienced something which I had never experienced before. I had never been able to see inside myself. I had never been able to see the power of words. I had never been able to see what is thinking and what is hearing and what is bhavana. That means practicing it or doing it again and again. So I could make a difference between them. When I sat a course there, then, the one thing that was said about mind, phandanang chapalang chittang durakhang durnivarayang. Now the meaning is very simple. I knew the meaning. When I had appeared MA in Pali, I had understood its meaning. I explained its meaning. I got good marks also. But I had never realized that how mind could be so unstable, so fickle. And when I sat a Vipassana course, I could realize it, that mind is so subtle, so fickle, that you can't control it even for a fraction of a second, let alone for 1 second. This realization I came after practicing Vipassana for some time. In the beginning, I did not like it. I said, what Guruji is asking me to do? Why should I concentrate my mind like this? Guruji should give a lecture on Buddhism and that would be all right. But Guruji made me see something which I had never experienced before in my life. And what is this experience? That what your mind can do. Your mind is a great power. Your mind is something which makes you good, your mind is something which can make you bad. This you are able to understand while practicing vipassana. Now, as far as samatha and vipassana is concerned, you try to understand only this, that samatha is only concentration of mind, which you can achieve by concentrating your mind on any object for some time. But vipassana is something else. You don't only concentrate your mind, but you also experience something. What is going to happen? For example, you take any object for your meditation. When you take any object of your meditation, that object also is not constant. That object also keeps on changing. This kind of change, that takes place in an object, was a revelation to me. It was a sort of eureka for me. I had never realized that mind could be so changed. Mind could be so changing. Mind could be so prolific. Mind could be so, fickle. It could be so fickle. I was, once upon a time, I would be proud of keeping my mind under control. But when I was practicing vipassana, I could realize that it was very difficult for me to control my mind. And then the second realization was, so many things were happening within me, which I had never realized before. And then I could understand that layers after layers of many experiences are coming up before me, which I had never realized before in my life. And that was a great revelation to me. This, you may call, was the second stop on my journey to understand this, the power of vipassana, the power of words also. Now, there are people who say that if you know the language of a people, you can understand its culture. But you cannot understand the culture of a person just by reading the language of a person. That is why the Buddha made a distinction between three kinds of pragya. Three kinds of pragya. Pragya means, try to understand this. Pragya means pragya, pratyaksha gyan. This knowledge you have from your experience, not from reading books, not from hearing somebody tell you about something. And this you can understand very well if I tell you, for example, as I gave you the example of Dadi Madhurang, Madhu Madhurang, Draksha Madhura, Sitapi Madhureva. You cannot understand the sweetness. You cannot understand the nature of sweetness of Dadi, curd, without eating it. That is why he said, Bhavana Maya Paya is that. Bhavana Maya Paya means realizing something, experience something, not knowing something by from somebody and not learning something from some books. So this is the great thing that the Buddha has given. Now I tell you, this I have written in one of my papers, that Bhavana Maya Panya is the greatest contribution of the Buddha to world culture, not even Indian culture, but to the world culture. You never have something like this in the whole of culture. I read a book by Matthew Arnold called Culture and Anarchy. That's a very famous book as far as the Western people are concerned. They prize it as a great book. They think it as a great book which defines culture. I also read that book while doing my daily thesis. But when I read it in the light of what the Buddha said, then I found that this book is not as powerful as people think it to be. Matthew Arnold could not say. Buddha says that knowing is not enough. If you know that mind is very fickle, then this is not enough. You have to know why mind is fickle, and then you have to control it. So controlling of your mind is important, not knowing. If you know, knowing will not help you. Knowing can only help you so that you can practice it to control it. That is the importance of knowing. But what is important in life is doing. because it is only doing which can better your life, which can make your life better, or which can purify your life, which can transform your life. That is why the Buddha in his teachings always uses the word to do something again and again, because if you do it for once, you will not be able to get what you want to get out of it. You have to do it again and again. And when you get into the habit of doing it, then only you will be able to realize what you wanted to get from it. So Buddha, in his teachings, you will find, if you read it very minutely, Buddha says, bhaveti, badheti, bruheti, bahuli karoti. Why does he use so many synonymous words while practicing vipassana or while practicing samatha? The point is that you have to do something again and again in order to understand it, because understanding something deeply is to do it so many times, because our habit is such that we know and then we just give up. We know and then just give up. But knowing does not become full. Knowing does not become perfect. Knowing will become perfect when you realize something or when you do something again and again, because there are many parts of it which you can know only after doing and doing and doing. That is why vipassana is practiced. Now, as far as samatha is concerned, samatha is to help you practice vipassana, because unless you concentrate your mind, you will not be able to practice vipassana. So vipassana, for practicing vipassana, samatha is necessary, but samatha is not the be all and end all of it. What is be all and end all is vipassana. When you see things clearly, then you know what to do and how to go about getting rid of it. Now, now try to understand. It's a long topic. I can give a long lecture on it, several lectures on it, but I don't want to take much of your time. I will say you briefly how I went about it. And when I came to realize that mind is so, mind is so subtle and mind is very difficult to control, when I could realize it, then I found that why Buddha talks about sila. Sila is very important in Buddha's teaching. What does it mean? That unless you practice sila, you will not be able to control your mind, because mind becomes agitated because of breaking sila. When you don't observe, when you don't practice sila, then mind is disturbed, because mind is disturbed by things like greed and craving, etc. There are many kinds of defilements which defile your mind, and so long as your mind is defiled, you cannot concentrate it, because you will have to go along with your mind. The way the mind will go, you will be taken by your mind like that. If you want to control your mind, then the Buddha says the most important thing is to observe moral precepts. And it is practicable. You can see it. If you just get rid of greed, if you just get rid of craving, then you are able to concentrate your mind for a long time. So these are the realizations that came to me while practicing vipassana. So I found that the contribution of the Buddha, when he talks about bhavana maya panya, is very, very great. You don't find in any literature. I have read French, I have read German, I have read Russian literature, I have read English literature to a great extent, and I have nowhere found this quality in any literature which you find in the Buddha. Not even in our the Upanishads, you don't find it. You find its mention only, but how to go about it is not explained there. It's only in Buddhism where you are taught how to practice this kind of meditation that is called vipassana, where you can see what things are happening within you and how you can control it. When you see that there is a scorpion, you will be able to get rid of it. When you see there is a snake, then you will be able to get rid of it. You can keep yourself from a scorpion, from a snake, when you see them clearly. So Buddha teaches you to see clearly what defilements are there in your mind which harm you, which cause different kinds of defilements to you, and which ultimately cause suffering to you. Now, the Buddha was a great thinker, was a great practitioner, and he had a tremendous kind of self-experience to tell you so many things there. Now, Buddha says that why suffering? Now, let me explain to you why suffering. Why do we suffer? We suffer because suffering is in us. Why suffering is caused? Because we want, because there is craving. So now let me tell you, for example, avidya pachaya sankhara, sankhara pachaya dhyanam, dhyanam pachaya and something, avidya pachaya sankhara, sankhara pachaya dhyanam, dhyanam pachaya namarupa, namarup pachaya salayatan, salayatan pachaya. You know the Patit Samupad, the law of Patit Samupad, and you know how tanha is caused. It is caused tanha, craving. Craving is caused. Why craving is caused? Because craving is caused by Vedana. Vedana pachaya tanha. What is Vedana? Three kinds of Vedana are there. The Vedana that you like, the Vedana you don't like, and the Vedana which is beyond your liking and disliking. So three kinds of Vedanas are. If you realize subtly all these things, then you can have a control over your mind and you can be able to stop creating your misery. The Buddha tells you that how our mind works. Buddha was a great psychologist. I think he was a greater psychologist than Freud and Jung. I said so, and I said this to my Western scholars also, and they also agreed that Buddha was a greater psychologist than Freud and Jung. I can give you references. My friends have said so, from America and Australia. They have said that Buddha was really a great psychologist than Freud and Jung. Now, what does Buddha say? Buddha says that our mind, a great part of mind is unconscious, and only a small part of our mind is conscious. So what we do consciously, we remember, but what happens in our unconscious mind, we are not able to understand, we are not able to say, and this unconscious mind produces our suffering, and it goes on and on and on. Now, while practicing Vipassana, you have to be able to concentrate on your unconscious mind also and try to grasp what is happening within you. Vipassana teaches you to go deep into your mind, not only your small part of mind, but to the whole part of mind, where in the darkness, many things are happening without your being aware of it. So if you want to be aware of it, then you practice Vipassana and you will be able to know what is going to happen, what is happening within you. Now, I give a very good example of it. Just let me tell you. There is a very good example. You know, dynamo. What does dynamo do? You feed a dynamo with petrol or diesel, and then it gives light to you. This is what we do. But there is a different kind of dynamo within ourselves. And this dynamo keeps on working day in and day out. And what does this dynamo do? It feeds on greed and it produces greed. It feeds on cravings and it gives out cravings. This is a different kind of dynamo, quite different from the kind of dynamo that we are aware of. And if you are aware of this kind of dynamo, then you can be able to have a control on it, and this dynamo will not be able to do what it is habituated to do for a long time. It has been habituated to create miseries for you. And if you want to stop misery, now how can you do it? Let me explain briefly how your mind works. For example, there are 4 parts of mind. The first part is Vigyan, the second part is Sangya, the third part is Vedana, and the fourth part is Sankhara. These are all technical terms. I will not go in detail because most of you are students of Buddhism, so you can understand these terms. This Vigyan means when something happens at the door of one of your senses, that is called Vigyan. Then when you recognize what has happened there, that is called Sangya. And if you like this, then you want to have it more and more. That is called Vedana. And Vedana produces Sankhara. This Sankhara gives you all kinds of troubles. So it's a mechanism. If you try to understand this mechanism, then you will be able to control yourself and you will not allow your mind to work the way it works and the way it creates sufferings for you. Vipassana enables you to do that. Now, I think it has been a lot of time and I'm short of time now. Let me give you one example in my life. I practiced Vipassana and I was a professor at Navanalanda Mahavihar. For 4 years, I was transferred as a Deputy Director of Education. I was posted in Ranchi. So when I was posted in Ranchi, I did not know the power of the director there. It has got a number of powers, lot of powers, but I was not aware of it. So in one of the meetings I came and one of the IAS officers wanted me to appoint 2 persons and he gave me 2 applications to appoint them. I just thought about it, what should I do about it, because I did not know what my powers are. I was not aware of my powers. So I asked another IAS officer who knew me very well. I asked, what should I do? Then he said, you can appoint them, you have the power, but you must follow the process. The process is that you advertise the post, you get the applicants, and then you can appoint anybody you like because you have the power. So this is what I said to that IAS officer. He said, you did not appoint them? I said, no, sir. I will take time to appoint them. I will advertise the post and then he became angry with me. And he became so angry with me that he said, one day in the next meeting, he said, there are thousands of complaints against you. You have made so many illegal appointments. He spoke in English. I also knew English very well. So I said, sir, who told you I have made so many illegal appointments? I have not made. And then you know what happened? He was an IAS officer. So he made one MP also to write against me that Professor Chaudhary has appointed so many persons and he has taken illegal money and all kinds of things. Now, this is in a nutshell, one incident of my life. So what happened? Then all my promotions were stopped. I was selected by the Bihar Public Service Commission, recommended in the highest grade post, but that was not given to me because of these things. So I became very sorry. And after I retired, I went to Dhammagiri, where I was practicing Vipassana. Now, let me be short and tell you my personal experience, and that will teach you a lot what Vipassana can do to you. So when I went there, I was practicing meditation in the early morning. And then I used to remember the face of that IAS officer who did me a lot of harm in my life. It did not let me have my promotion, did not let me have my the money that I had. And I had retired with so many charges against me. That was galling me particularly. So when I used to sit in meditation, the face of that IAS officer would come before me, and I would just want to strike his face because he has done me a lot of harm. But at that time, now this is the crux of my lecture. Try to listen to it. At that time, I remembered a verse said by a Thera, Pubbe hanati yattanang pacha hanati sokare. I was feeling so angry. I was feeling a great anger. I was feeling so angry with that IAS officer that I wanted to strike him I wanted to hurt him, but which I could not do because I knew my limitations. He was an IAS officer. I was just an ordinary man. I could not have done harm to me, but I was harming myself. This realization came to me when I remembered that Gatha, Pubbe Hanati Yattanang. When anger arises in you, then you harm yourself first before you harm somebody else. So this realization came to me, and I think this was a great realization for me, and I stopped there, and I found that Vipassana is really a technique of getting rid of all your miseries. If you want to get rid of all your sufferings, then you try to end the cause of sufferings, which you can end by looking at them, by seeing at them personally, not reading some books, but experiencing it. And this experiencing thing is called Bhavana Maya Panya. And this, I think, is the greatest contribution to world culture. That is all that I have to say. Thank you very much.
Sadhu, sadhu,
Sadhu, very nice.
Sadhu.
Now, I would like to invite our guest of honor, Professor Pradeep Gokhale. Professor Pradeep Gokhale is a retired as Professor of Philosophy from Savitribai Phule University after 31 years of postgraduate teaching experience and subsequently worked as research professor in the Central Institute of Higher Tibetan Studies, Sarnath, Varanasi. Presently, Professor Gokhale is an honorary adjunct professor in the Department of Pali and Buddhist Studies in Savitribai Phule University. His research areas include classical Indian philosophy, moral and social philosophy in modern Buddhism. I would now like to invite our guest of honor, Professor Pradeep Gokhale.
Thank you. Respected Chairperson, Dr. Mahendra Singh, Honorable Keynote Speaker, Dr. Angaraj Chaudhary, Convener of the conference, Professor Bimalendra Kumar, assembled scholars and friends. I am happy to be in the virtual company of the scholars of Buddhist meditation gathered from different parts of the country. Though I have been invited here to speak as a guest of honor in the conference on Buddhist meditation, I do not regard myself to be an authority on the subject. On the path of meditation, I am still a seeker, a struggler. It was about 30 years ago that I did my first Vipassana meditation course at Dhammagiri, Igatpuri. I completed the course and I felt that I have found an answer, at least a direction to the answer to my personal problems. I continued the practice in whatever way I could and also tried to understand Buddhist meditation theoretically. However, I do not regard myself an accomplished meditator. As I said, I am still a struggler, still a seeker. My present short speech is also an exploration towards understanding clearly some aspects of Buddhist meditation. What are the foundations of Buddhist meditation? One can talk of three kinds of foundations: ontological, epistemological, and psychological. For example, insofar as Theravada is concerned, the doctrine of Tilakkana, that all phenomena are anicca, anatta, and dukkha, can be regarded as an ontological foundation of meditation. The corollary of this doctrine would be the doctrine of vipallasa, that is, perverse understanding of phenomena, the idea that the phenomena are permanent, pure, satisfactory, and substantial. This is the misconception which is regarded as the cause of suffering. I suggest that this dual doctrine of Tilakkana and Vipallasa can be called the ontological basis of the Buddhist theory of meditation. Another important foundation of the Buddhist theory of meditation is the doctrine of mental construction, that is, vikalpa. In different schools of Buddhism, the idea prevails that there is something given in reality, but when we think about what there is, or when we talk about it, we use ideas, words, which are our constructs, and we superimpose those mental and linguistic constructs on reality. As a result, it is held that we can have a direct and objective insight into the nature of reality if we can concentrate on the reality without mental constructions or linguistic constructions. Hence, an awareness of what there is possible through the experience in which there is no thought process, no judgment, and no language. The state in which there is no thought, no language may be sought for another reason, which is more psychological than philosophical. The state in which there are thoughts, ideas, and words is often a scattered state, a disturbed state of mind, whereas an unthinking and silent mind is a peaceful mind. This was probably the basis of samatha meditation. In samatha meditation, such a state was attained by Buddhist practitioners by concentrating on a single object and then gradually making that object more internal, more subtle, more abstract, and formless. But attaining a single pointed and peaceful state of mind would not be final, because it could be a temporary state, as it was not necessarily based on the deeper understanding of the true nature of reality. Such a deeper understanding could be achieved by Vipassana meditation. Vipassana meditation was not averse to thought, but an important aspect of it was the purification of thought. Vipassana is understood as insight, a kind of panya, the chief object of which is to understand things as they truly are. And this true understanding is not possible without purification of thought. In samatha, we may develop deep concentration for a period of time and make our mind free from thoughts. But when we come out of that state, we are again in the ocean of thoughts, ideas, and language. We have to deal with the world of things and persons, and that cannot be done without thoughts, ideas, and language. Our thoughts and ideas constitute our perspective about things and persons, which is at the root of our defiled or undefiled emotional attitudes and our moral or immoral behavior. At this stage, we need a method which helps us in developing proper thoughts and proper orientation by which we will be free from defilements and immoral attitude, so that we deal with the world happily and also try to make the world happy. Here, two types of meditation are especially useful. Vipassana meditation helps in purifying our thoughts and ideas about things in general, and meditation on Brahma Viharas, that is the other type of meditation, such as Brahma Viharas, such as Karuna, Mudita, and Metta, that they help, which helps in making our interpersonal relations happy and healthy. The Buddhist meditation in this way helps us in making ourselves and our surrounding peaceful and happy. In fact, that meditation helps us in making ourselves and our environment peaceful and happy by purifying our mind at conscious as well as subconscious level, can be called the psychological foundation of the Buddhist theory of meditation. In this way, we can say that Buddhist theory of meditation is based on three foundations. One is the ontological foundation concerning the characteristics, ilakhana, and their opposites, namely vipallasas. The other is epistemological foundation of the distinction between judgmental and non-judgmental, or conceptual and non-conceptual awareness, or between thinking awareness and thoughtless awareness. The third foundation is the psychological foundation, which deals with therapeutic and developmental aspects of meditation. Out of them, the ontological aspect which deals with impermanence and soullessness or non-substantiality of all phenomena, distinguishes Buddhism from other theories of meditation. Other Indian theories of meditation, whether based on Sankhya Yoga or Vedanta or even Hatha Yogic school of thought, are based on the doctrine of eternal Atman or soul, which is either the agent of meditation, the meditator, or the object of meditation. They also talk about Ishvara or Brahman as the ultimate object of meditation. Generally, they make a categorical distinction between Manas and Atman. They regard Manas or Antahkarana as insentient and impermanent, whereas Atman as a permanent substance, which is the possessor of consciousness or has consciousness as its essence. Buddhism replaces Atman by Chitta. Chitta for Buddhism is essentially conscious, but it is neither a substance nor eternal. It is like a stream, a process, and not a thing or a substance. By this, I do not mean to say that Buddhist meditation is completely different and isolated from the Brahmanical forms of meditation. In fact, it is an interesting area of study as to how Buddhist meditation is linked with Brahmanical conceptions of meditation. Out of the two types of meditation, namely Samatha and Vipassana, accepted in Buddha's theory of meditation, Vipassana can be regarded as the Buddha's original contribution, whereas Samatha could be regarded as partly influenced by some Brahmanical forms of meditation. One of the major differences between Samatha and Vipassana, that is concentration meditation and insight meditation, can be stated as follows. In concentration meditation, we decide an object beforehand and then concentrate on it. The choice of the particular object is supposed to be made sometimes in the light of the meditator's temperament, such that the meditator on the specific object, the meditation on the specific object helps in removing the temperament-specific defilements. Unlike concentration meditation, yes, sorry.
Sangeeta.
Hello, am I audible?
No, continue, sir. No problem.
Okay. So unlike concentration meditation, in insight meditation, we do not determine the object we want to attend. We do not fix our mind on any particular object because probably we are aware that we will not be able to fix our mind because the object is ever changing and our mind is also ever changing. What is important in Vipassana is living in the present and having moment-to-moment awareness of the ever-changing phenomena. It is a choiceless awareness of what happens in material or mental realm. There is not only a difference between the two types of meditation, but there is also a contrast between them. That is because the core of Samatha meditation is one-pointedness of mind, ekaggata chittassa, focusing of mind on a single object. This presupposes stability or continuity of mind as well as the object of mind. This presupposition apparently goes against the tenets of Buddhism, namely impermanence of all things. So it seems that at the time of Samatha meditation, the idea or bracketed. On the other hand, in Vipassana meditation, one does not try to focus one's mind on a single object. So in Vipassana meditation, impermanence and non-substantiality of things get highlighted. Mahayana philosophers seem to have taken this contrast between the two types of meditations seriously. For example, Kamalashila, in his work Bhavana Krama, attempts to reconcile Shamatha and Vipassana, which according to Mahayana correspond to Samvriti Satya and Paramartha Satya, that is conventional truth and ultimate truth. And at the theoretical level, and upaya and prajna, that is skillful means and metaphysical wisdom at the practical level. Kamalashila suggests that one should pursue the two types of meditation by maintaining balance between them. He uses the metaphor of yuganadha, yoking together, in this context. While explaining, he says, when one cultivates vipassana, one's insight, that is prajna, becomes much more excessive. Then, due to weakness of shamatha, the mind wavers like a lamp in stormy wind, and hence one does not have a very vivid realization of truth. Therefore, at that time, one should cultivate shamatha. However, when shamatha is excessive, like a person under the influence of torpor, one will not have a very vivid realization of the truth. Therefore, at that time, one should cultivate the insight, panya, prajna. When both are equally active, like two bullocks carrying a common yoke, one should stay in that condition effortlessly till one does not have physical or mental pain. This is from Bhavana Krama. I think this is a very important suggestion made by Kamalashila. Though he has made it in the context of Mahayana theory of meditation, I think it is useful for Shravakayanam meditators also. So with this, I end my short presentation. I thank the organizers for this opportunity given to me to express my stray thoughts on Buddhist meditation, and I am also thankful to the audience for bearing with me. Thank you very much.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Continuing our inaugural session, I would now invite Dr. Mahendra Singh, the President of the Mahabodhi Society of India, who's presiding over this inaugural session, to please deliver your talk.
Thank you, Kiran Lama ji. So kind of you, sadhuvat. Am I audible, Kiran ji?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. Namo tas bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tas bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tas bhagavato arahato samma. On this auspicious occasion of the 9th International Virtual Conference on Pali and Buddhism, with the collaboration of the Samatha and Vipassana Praxis and Application, I pray all the Buddhas from Gautam Buddha up to the Medhankar Buddha to bestow long life and happiness to all of the participants in this webinar conference. First of all, I congratulate our Honorable General Secretary and Professor Vimalendra Kumar, because I know that both these people started this in 2014. It is the 9th year. It is a great leap forward for the Pali and the connection of the Pali with the Buddhism. As our previous speaker, Priyangraj Chaudhary, has explicitly said that one who knows the language well, he understands the Dhamma and other things well. Very good citation from him, and his experiment on this. I have my presidential address. Today we have, it is in the large spectrum, the program have been chalked out because contemplative system in Theravada tradition, there are 10 points. And number 2, contemplative system in Mahayana tradition, there are 8 points. Number 1 goal, third, various tradition, 5 points. Sufficient points to ponder over and to give their thoughts, because it's a vast area in all respect. And there is a main emphasis is that the Samath meditation, Samath and Vipassana. Our 2 previous speakers, Honorable Angaraj Chaudhary ji and Gokhale ji, have cast a very good light on these both subjects. So, and they also differentiated what is the difference between the Samath and Vipassana insight. Samath. Samath, tranquilization, calmness, quietude. And Vipassana, and in other words, synthesis of the thing. And Vipassana is the analysis and to know the reality. Just like Vipassana is the postmortem of everything to know, elaboration of everything. And what is the Samath? Much has been said, but for your knowledge, what is the Samath? Now the meditators, and what in the Samatha meditators does? Now the meditators' work is to attain unification of mind, one-pointedness. The stream of thought normally contains myriad concomitants. The goal of samadhi is to break and steady that. One thought is the subject of meditation, one object. It is a pointedly one object. And in this practice, the meditator or the practitioner, what does he do? His effort is to stop or circumvent the extraneous thought other than the object to enter his mind consciousness. And he has to focus on one project. And particularly when he uses any cushioned device, primarily in the form dhyan, and then formless dhyan, that is different, he goes too deep. But initially, he is to do some figures according to the cushion's shape or nature. And he is so quick in repeating that, just like his device is the earth, Prithvi, Jal, Vayu, Agni, these 10, red, black, white. So he is to practice, suppose Prithvi is his device of the meditation of the Samath. He is to repeat so quickly, initially, Prithvi, 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 so that any extraneous thought other than the object may not enter his mind. When he practices for so many days, months, then because of this quickness of the practice, the defilements or the ill thoughts are supposed to not to enter in mind. And to that limit, he gets the purity of mind. And as and when the ratio is increased, and his mind then is in habit to have a focus on the object, then purity of mind establishes there. This is the Samath meditation. It's like the wind, just like in the windless room. There is the vacuum is there, and there is a candle or any lamp. The light of that, the flame of that candle or light will not waver or quiver. It will be straight. And samadhi is also called absorption. Absorption to the limit that he knows nothing but the object. So it is in this samadhi, the practitioner shrinks the mind. In the sense, he doesn't deflate it or proliferate it to deviate or to wander in any area other than the object chosen by him for the practice. It is the samadhi, but as my learned friend Gokhaleji had told that, very good, he is a vast knowledge, I appreciate his knowledge. What he has put in the words explicitly, he differentiated in the minute differentiation, which is very difficult. And I think he has gone too deep between the two practices. And so what he said? He said, when the person then attend the 8th dhyan also, the ultimate 8th dhyan, he can get purity of mind and he can have some powers and anything what is entails of the dhyan, but he cannot know the reality. And I want to expand this thought, and I want to add some words in this, that a person just like Alar Kalam, whom the Siddhartha Bodhisattva met first, he had attained 7th dhyan. And when Siddhartha learnt all the dhyans and practiced perfectly, he asked, what is more? Alar Kalam said, I have this final knowledge. I don't know more. He asked, what is the cause of the dukkha and the riddance from the dukkha? He said, I don't know it. Then he went to Uddaka. He had attained the 8th dhyan. There too, again question arose. He wanted further more to know, but he also expressed his inability to reflect or cast a light on the dukkha, etc. And so he thought that I myself will take my destination. So what is the vipassana? Vipassana, insight. Vipassana, insight is the intuitive light flashing forth and exposing the truth of the impermanency, the suffering, and the impersonal and unsubstantial nature of all corporeal and mental phenomena of existence. It is insight, wisdom, vipassana panya, that is the decisive liberating factor in Buddhism, though it has to be developed along with the 2 other trainings in morality and concentration. The culmination of insight leads directly to the stage of the holiness, means Nibbana. So a person just like Alar Kalam and moreover the Urmila Kashyap, he has also attained 8th dhyan, but they were not Arhant. I can say they were not even Sotapan, because they used to believe in the permanent substance just like a soul. And unless the impermanence, dukkha and soul is not understood fully in their real sense, the first stage of the Nibbana, Sotapan, is also difficult to be attained. So Vipassana, what is the Vipassana? Lord Buddha had said, why the Vipassana? The Bhagwa, I want to say a little, the Bhagwa was at one time, Bhagwa means Lord Buddha, at one time residing at the market town called Kamasdhamma in the Kuru town. There the Bhagwa addressed the bhikkhus saying, O bhikkhus, and they replied to him, Venerable sir. The Bhagwa said, bhikkhus, this is one and only way for the purification of minds and beings, for overcoming sorrows and lamentation, for the complete destruction of the physical pain and mental distress, for attainment of the noble Arya Magga, and for the realization of the Nibbana. that only way is the practice of the four methods of the steadfast mindfulness. What are the four? Satipatthana, bhikkhus, the bhikkhus, that is the disciple following my teachings, keeps his mind steadfastly on the body, kaya, with diligence, comprehension, and mindfulness, and pursues its impermanence, insecure, soulless, and repulsive nature, thus keeping away covetousness and distress which will appear if he is not mindful of the five skandhas. The bhikkhu keeps his mind steadfastly on sensation Vedana with diligence, comprehension, and mindfulness, and pursues its impermanent, insecure, and soulless nature, thus keeping away covetousness and distress which will appear if he is not mindful of the five skandhas. The bhikkhu concentrates steadfastly on the mind, chitta, with diligence, comprehension, and mindfulness, and pursues its impermanence, insecure, and soulless nature, thus keeping away covetousness and distress which will appear if he is not mindful of the five skandhas. The bhikkhu keeps his mind steadfastly on the Dhamma. Dhamma means Dhamma, mental factors, objects of the mind, with diligence, comprehension, and mindfulness, and pursues the impermanence and secure, soulless nature, thus keeping away covetousness and desire, which will appear if he is not mindful of the five skandhas. So, these are the four great contemplation the Buddha told. So, what we can say in the Samath practice was already prevalent in the India, because the India has been since time immemorial been the country of the rishis, munis, and the thinkers, philosophers, religious teachers. So when a person comes in the world, he takes birth. Naturally, he is under suffering. And in the search of the happiness, every person and every rishi, muni, our respected gurus, the religious teachers, made their discoveries, and they took much time, and they also gave much torture to their bodies, because they used to think that the body is the main cause of the sufferings. And Buddha also practiced this practice in the earlier days, but he could get nothing. And thereafter, when he went inside, and he went in the mind, he entered the arena of the mind, leaving body aside, because he said mind and body is the attendant, and the mind is the master. He gives signal, he gives command to the body. So unless he was pursuing, unless he didn't pursue the mental faculty, he could not get enlightenment. Now, Samath was there already in the India, but there were so many rishi munis. They have Riddhi also, they have the magical powers also, but nobody could get even the Sota, let alone the Nibbana. So Samath practice was already prevalent, but why Buddha kept the Samath also as Samadhi in the Eightfold Path? I want to make it clear that to get concentration, to get mind pure from impurity, he also included Samath. But as and when the sadhak or his disciple attained the stage of the purity of the mind, he changed the side towards the insight meditation, because there is no Nibbana in the Samath, and if the one has to search that bliss and Nibbanic state, he cannot do it without the practice of the insight meditation, vipassana. All the speakers made a good contribution, and it's a good subject, and this is much to speak, much to understand, and much to learn. So with these words, with the thanks to all the organizers, General Secretary and peaceably Thero, Vimalendra Kumar ji, and my previous honorable speakers, Kiran Lama ji and Vimalendra Kumar, Angaraj Chaudhary ji, Pradeep Gokhale ji. I congratulate them and I appreciate their views. They have learnt a vast, and I pray Lord Buddha to give them further long life and happiness to give more contribution to the country and this institution and the Mahabodhi Society of India. With these words, I conclude my things. Namo Buddhaya to all.
No. Sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Before we conclude this inaugural session, I would now like to invite Venerable P.C. Thero, the General Secretary and the Chief Monk of the Mahabodhi Society of India, to bless this inaugural session along with the following academic session that follows till tomorrow. Venerable P.C. Thero.
किरण जी, उन्होंने मुझे बताया था वो आ नहीं पाएंगे.
अच्छा, वोट ऑफ
आप
थैंक्स
इसको वोट ऑफ थैंक्स करा दीजिए 12 बजे तक, फिर वेल इन टाइम ये खत्म हो जाएगा.
Immediately after this inaugural session, we have the first academic session of this conference, and the moderator for each academic session till tomorrow is Dr. Animesh Prakash from the Central Institute of Higher Studies, Sarnath. So before we conclude, I would now invite our Dr. Kailash Prasad ji, the Vice President of the Mahabodhi Society of India, to please propose the vote of thanks of this inaugural session. Dr. Kailash Prasad.
Yes, Namo Buddhaya to everyone. It is a ritual which used to be at the concluding part of the session. So I, on behalf of the Mahabodhi Society of India and Dharmapal Institute of International Institute of Pali and Buddhist Studies, I pay my reverence and gratitude to all of you. And first of all, I want to express my gratitude to Professor Angaraj Chaudhary, a well-known scholar in the field. He is about 90-year-old, but is still very active physically as well as mentally, and is working in the very much still engaged with the Vipassana Research Institute, Igatpuri. And side by side, attending, participating in seminars and conferences. So he has very well explained the Samatha and Vipassana meditation. And he has been in regular practice of Vipassana meditation, editing Journal of Research, Vipassana Research Institute also. So he's an inspiration for all of us to be active, to remain active academically as well as physically. It's a very good example here. So I again offer my reverence to him, thank him from the heart, core of my heart. We had another speaker, Professor Pradeep Gokhale, a retired professor of philosophy. He has been a meditator also, he still meditates, and he explained philosophically the meditation principles in Brahmanical as well as in Buddhist philosophy. And very good flow, very good language, and he made us know what Vipassana and Samatha is. Dr. Mahendra Singh Ji, the President of Mahabodhi Society of India, he is very well in practice of meditation also, and especially in the knowledge of Abhidhamma. And after retirement, he has devoted himself to the study of Buddhism and conducting many courses of Buddhist studies, especially teaching the lay person as well as scholars in the field. And Mahabodhi Society is having him as a key person in these topics, especially in Vipassana, letting people know what Buddhism is in practice and principle. And Professor Vimalendra Kumar ji, Professor of BHU, Vice President of Mahabodhi Society, is playing pivotal role in organizing international conferences. Not only this, it is the 9th conference, but he has been organizing other conferences, many, and it is he who contributed, contacted the great scholars to speak at this conference and others. So he is playing very important role in this conference. Shri Kiran Lama ji has a good voice and flow of language. He can invoke the blessings of the Devas and Buddhas, and he is also very active, and he knows many kind of arts also, and he is engaged with many institutions, working very honestly with them. So I would like to thank at last one and all who have joined this program, especially the inaugural session, and the members of MBSI, the scholars and listeners in general, and lastly, to all who have joined or not joined this session, I request them to join the following sessions and get knowledge about Buddhism and meditation, especially Buddhist meditation and samatha. So once again, and I pray to the Buddha's blessings to be showered on each and everyone. Thank you so much. Namo Buddhaya to everyone.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
As we conclude with the inaugural session of this 9th International Conference on Pali and Buddhism, with special reference to Samatha and Vipassana, praxis and application, with this virtual meet on Zoom, we now commence with the academic session. I would like to invite Dr. Animesh Prakash from the Central Institute of High Tibetan Studies, Sarnath, to please commence the academic session.
And thank you, Lamala. After a wonderful insight gained from the inaugural session, this is the time to move at the main theme, Samatha and Vipassana, praxis and application. This is Animesh Prakash, the moderator of this academic session, and the chairperson of this session is a very well-known scholar, Professor C. Upendra Rao ji, and there are 4 speakers from the different field. May I please call Honorable excuse me. May I please call Venerable Dr. Brenda Huang Chuan Lee from Nalanda, Dr. Nikki Chaturvedi, Associate Professor of History and Indian Culture from University of Rajasthan, Jaipur, Professor Rana Purushottam Singh ji, Professor and Dean of Buddhist Studies at Now Nalanda Mahavihar, and Dr. Venerable Dhammajyoti ji, Assistant Professor of Pali from Now Nalanda Vihar. Now let me take this honor to introduce Professor C. Upendra Rao ji. Professor C. Upendra Rao ji is a professor of Sanskrit and Pali in a School of Sanskrit and Indic Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He was the chairperson of a Special Center for Sanskrit Studies at JNU. He has been a visiting professor in various cities of Cambodia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Latvia, Europe, and Vietnam. Professor Rao has edited and authored 30 books. At present, he is working on various Indological issues received from the number of pertaining to Southeast Asia. And Professor Rao has also received a number of awards and prizes in India and abroad, such as Kadambari Award from Akhil Bharatiya Vidvat Parishad Kashi, Delhi, Delhi Gaurav Award Bharatiya Vidyat Parishad Kashi, Delhi Gaurav Award from Parvatiya Vikas Samiti, Dr. S. Radhakrishnan Education Excellence Award and Vidya Sagar Award from Indian Institute of Oriental Heritage, Kolkata, and 3 gold medals from Osmania University and Banaras Hindu University during his course of study. So may I please invite Professor C. Upendra Rao ji as a chairperson of this session. Let us have an opportunity to listen all those scholars from the diverse field. Over to Sir Rao, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Animesh Prakash. I'm glad to participate in this 9th International Conference. Inaugural session has been completed just now, and we are starting the first academic session. As Dr. Animesh Prakash has explained, the first academic session has 4 speakers. I'm very much thankful to Mahabodhi Society and other organizers to choose such a wonderful topic, because this topic, Samatha and Vipassana, practice and application. This is very, very important because in Buddhism, besides other things, Vipassana, Samatha are occupying the primary place in Buddhist literature. As long as this Vipassana continues, as long as this mindfulness continues, so long the Buddha Dharma continues. That is what actually we believe. Therefore, I'm happy to participate in this academic session because we are learning from scope, because so many Buddhist scholars are present here. So many practitioners are sitting in this conference. So it's a great opportunity for all of us to learn about meditation, samatha, these things. Now, as Dr. Animesh Prakash ji has explained, we have 4 speakers, but after the name of moderator, there is a note. Each scholar is requested to present his views in 10 to 15 minutes. Better to conclude in 10 minutes or 12 minutes, and then 3 minutes, anyway, it will take place. So now may I invite, without wasting much time, very thankful for organizing and working hard, Professor Vimalendra Kumarji, for this conference. And now we have 4 speakers. Now may I invite Venerable Dr. Brinda from Nalanda. We have 3 speakers from Nalanda. One is Dr. Brinda. Second is Professor Rana Purushottam and Dhammajyoti. Both 3 are from Nalanda. One is from Jaipur. So now I invite Dr. Brinda Hong Swan Lee from Nalanda to present her lecture in this academic conference. Namaste. Yes.
Namo Buddhaya, Namo Dhammaya, Namo Sanghaya. I request the bhikkhu that may I have a words before you. So I ask your permission for that. Today I'd like to present the topic about the mindfulness in the therapeutic application for the promotion health. And this is part of the Vipassana, but then how do we execute the Vipassana meditation, not only in the meditation hall, but it's also how do we use it, utilizing it in the day-to-day practice. And the one that I focus on, not on a sitting meditation for 1 hour or 1 day, but then momentariness, to build the momentariness samadhi. So that is called Khanika Samadhi in Pali. So as we notice that this is the interaction between the body and the mind, according to Abhidhamma. And the mind and the body interact each other, and going through the Uttu Samutthana Rupam. And then the other one is also Kama Samutthana Rupam and Chitta Samutthana Rupam and also Ahara Samutthana Rupam. So all of this one, according to Abhidhamma Sangha, so this is how our body and our mind interact each other. And from the interact each other, the body condition can affect the mind. And the mind also can affect the body. So then, rather than using all the Abhidhamma language, then I start using the contemporary language in the science. So then, as we see that this is the how do we understand this one? For example, if it is under stressful situation, our mind starting producing the adrenaline or the cortisol. That is a two kind of a protein. And that's why the mind now generates the material in the neuroscience perspective. So then this neuroscience chemical start increase the further anxiety in our body by increasing our heart rate, increasing our high blood pressure, and then the body gets sick, the body go back into the mind again and affect the mind. Because when the body gets sick, the mind is also gets sick. So that's why this is going through this process, going through exactly the same. This is the mind affecting by the body, genesis the body, the material, and the material go back and affect the mind. So, and if we in a situation that we really relax, then we start having the body, let's say that we go for jogging, aerobic exercise, mindfulness walking, meditation. Then the body now going to produce the endorphin. And this endorphin is also chemical, which is also protein. Now, don't forget the protein is also part of the nutriment. So this nutriment here is also ahara. So this nutriment will feed into the body and also feed into the mind. So when the endorphin is made up of protein, so then when the more endorphin we produce, the more relaxation we're going to have. And also the pain will go away. So that is and also we also generate the relaxation for the whole day if we do a short exercise in the morning, or we do a very short samadhi in the morning, even like breathing, just anapana, 20 minutes is also good enough to generate this endorphin to beneficial for the mind. So then, as so far we understand this in the Abhidhamma and also in the physiological and neuro psychological perspective, then how can we promote the vipassana or the mindfulness in the activities? A lot of people misunderstood that mindfulness or vipassana meditation, that we need to sit in for 1 hour only. No. As a monk and a nun, we've been trained to be mindfulness on the task, mindfulness on walking, standing, eating, sleeping, lying down. So we need to be mindfulness because we need to increase, to generate, and also to train our mindfulness faculty. So when we do the sitting meditation, this mindfulness faculty is strong enough to draw out breathing on the side that we want to focus on, the breath in and out. So then the mindfulness faculty is strong enough to help us to concentrate at the deeper level when we join the Vipassana retreat. So day-to-day training is really important. We cannot wait until that we join the Vipassana meditation retreat and then we develop the concentration. But we have to train ourselves to have a momentariness concentration by daily activities. Then a lot of people misunderstand that, okay, how can we create activity in such a busy, hectic society, in the contemporary society right now? Because we're busy for working and we're busy with family and also household chore and teaching and working, all of those. How can we engage in the activity? That is, one activity can be have a multiple, not only multiple activity. Let's say that we have to do the meditation, and then we have to do the jogging, and then we have to relaxation. All of those activities then take over so much time of our life. Yet we need this time to do other things like teaching, learning, and other activities for surviving. And also, how do we create activity that we can promote health and save times? And it has to be simple enough and effective that help the people to engage in the consistency in practice. So that's why, and also in a long run, in a long-term benefit, how do we sustain that a kind of practice so then we can promote both physical health and mental health? So lately there is a study in the USA and Canada, and they make a study, and they believe that only one task, but we can integrate all of this technique with the aerobics exercise and also the mindfulness in the same time with the exercise that we do, and then it's you a lot of benefit that we have listed out here. For example, if they say, if we do just only 20 minutes every morning, especially every morning of walking, jogging, or meditation, and if we do the sitting meditation, that's no problem, because we have to be mindfulness on breathing in and out. That's simple. Most of the people know. But then how can we integrate the mindfulness in the exercise? They say that by focus on one step to another step, not thinking the past, not thinking the future, and just be here and now. So focus on the left and right step. And we can choose either slow walking or brisk walking or even jogging or even stationary cycling. Now, if we cannot focus on the step, then we should focus on our breathing. Like when we're jogging, the breathing in and out, just focus on that. This is called mindfulness from the moment to moment. And then we have to have a commitment in the consistency in practice. We cannot just say that, okay, we jog today for 1 per week, and then next week we skip, and then next week we jog twice. But we have to be consistent every morning, but we can set like 4 times a day, because they find out that only 20 minutes of jogging or aerobic exercise with the mindfulness is beneficial enough to use a lot of good result. For example, and I also experienced this, that when we went for jogging and be mindfulness, then we expel all of the tension out, and then our mind start producing our brain start producing endorphin. And this endorphin will last us for 24 hours, even though we work under stress. And I'm telling you, teaching in Nalanda University is very stressful as well. So then I have to commit to myself that jog every morning, and I jog only 15 minutes and then 5 minutes walking to cool down. And I have to be mindfulness, integrate in mindfulness. So of course, in the morning, I do the chanting, and then after that, I went for jogging. And also that we need to have a routine that sleep.
Excuse me, Dr. Brenda, now you had to conclude within 1 minute.
Yes, it's going to conclude soon, sir.
Yeah.
So then, and also for in the long run, that our prefrontal lobe here, when we get old, the neurodegeneration will be slowed down, and then we will not have the dementia or Alzheimer. So that is the benefit for a long run. So now I conclude that the Buddhism and also the neuroscience also complement each other to provide a rational explanation on how mind and body influence each other during the interaction. The information allows us to execute the mindfulness practice by applying in a very simple, practical activities such as walking, jogging, etc. In a single task only, we can integrate all of this mindfulness and also jogging at the same time. And it's a very convincible practical technique that everybody can save time and integrate or apply into the daily life. And that's how I conclude my speech for today. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Bhikkhuni Brenda. In fact, it was very interesting. It is very unfortunate that I should say that time is over, because if I don't say like that, we will be in difficulties further. Vimalanji knows everything.
I've been presenting. I always make myself only 6 or 7 slides, sir, because I've been experiencing that. So when you see the 6 slides, I almost
very interesting. It is very interesting, and because you have explained the interdependency of the body and mind, and this is very, very important factor, and mind is very important. Actually, somebody was telling that body is not important. The mind is a lord, and body is a vehicle only. So that is very, very important. That is what actually Buddha says always. And your speech today was really very interesting. Thank you very much, Dr. Brenda. And now let me invite the next speaker. I think Dr. Niki Chaturvedi from Jaipur.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, Niki Chaturvedi from Jaipur, and Niki Chaturvedi ji, I invited long ago to JNU to Niki Chaturvedi ji. She's very active in academic activities, and now I request Dr. to present. Thank you.
Thank you so much. My heartiest greetings from Jaipur to our Honorable Chairperson, Professor Rao, and to all the erudite co-panelists that I have, to all the distinguished scholars, and it's an honor to be amongst venerable practitioners. And I also would like to express my gratitude to Mahabodhi Society of India and Professor Bimalendra Kumar for giving me this opportunity to present my explorations on evolutionary psychology, Buddhist meditation, and modern challenges. There are a lot of ideas in Buddhism that deal with human mind and suffering. Buddhism addresses questions like, why do we suffer? Why do we feel anxiety? Why do we get overwhelmed by sadness? Why do people act unkindly? How do we cope with hurtful behavior, setbacks, or failures? Though, these are some of the questions formulated centuries earlier, but they do speak very relevantly to modern world. And it is worthwhile to explore the solutions offered by Buddhism, particularly meditation, to change the way mind works. This can be utilized to cope with stress, strife, and unhappiness, the 3 ailments of modern humans. The paper attempts to test the reasoning behind Buddhist diagnosis and prescriptions and explore its validity for modern world. 4 noble truths and no self that form the core of Buddhist psychological formulations of human predicament shall be examined through the prism of theories of modern evolutionary psychology. The meditation techniques formulated in Buddhism, with special emphasis on mindfulness meditation, have the potential for inner peace at individual level and a harmonious system at social level. Buddhist meditation practices are conducive to a heightened awareness and a clearer vision of reality, which is supported by modern science. The paper attempts to integrate principles of evolutionary psychology with Buddhist practices, as they both aim to enable the individuals to cope with stressful situations. So the starting point of Buddhist teachings is suffering. It begins by acknowledging and accepting mankind's predicament and attempts to lessen the influence of self-imposed sources of distress, such as harmful behavioral habits like karma, unrealistic cognitive tendencies, sanskara, and affective emotional reactions, klesha. The conscious disarming of these habits extinguishes the fire of suffering. In the same way, modern research by psychologists has revealed that the causal sequence negative appraisal, adverse emotions, and sympathetic activation can be intentionally intervened, regulated, and reversed. That is where the role of meditation comes in. Buddhist psychology shifts the blame as well as the responsibility of human predicament away from environmental influences that presuppose external agents towards internal dynamics that require reflective analysis, self-regulation, and self-correction, which is supported by modern psychotherapy as well. The word craving has been used by translators to convey the meaning of the Pali term tanha. In the Buddhist sense, it stands for thirst, which is given in the doctrine of four noble truths as the cause or samudaya of suffering. For this reason, the Buddhist goal of nirvana is referred to as extinction of suffering. Therefore, the question arises that why it is not inbuilt in our natural instincts in everyday lives. If it is so important for us, why do we not realize that the pleasures will dissipate rapidly, in no time? So the natural selection that has designed our brains, why does it run after momentary pleasures, short-term gratifications? So there are this evolutionary psychologists, Cosmets and Tooby, and they said that natural selection always does not work for the good of species. Sometimes it veers us towards craving, while Buddhism takes us away from craving. But why it takes us towards craving? Because there is just one aim. The one aim is proliferation of the species. They just want to increase the species. The words that they use is, it is a process in which a phenotypic design feature causes its own spread through a population. And sometimes this also happens that in the act of procreation, some species, they die immediately after it, and yet they go after it. So that kind of a destructive tendency has to be distinguished between our natural instincts, and it is meditation which will help us recognize that. Natural selection. Now, why is so that natural selection is giving us something like this? So natural selection is a process that designed our brains many years ago. It takes a long time. The psychologists say it takes a long time to design the circuit of this complex thing we call brain. And the time it takes to build these circuits is so slow that it is even hard to imagine. The metaphor that they use is that you put a stone and wind blows. So the kind of time and effort the wind takes in veering that stone, that is the amount of time and effort our brains circuits take in getting redesigned. So it takes tens and thousands of years. So the environment in which humans and human minds evolved, it was very different from the environment that we live in today. At that time, proliferation of species was required. So our ancestors, or if we talk about the past humans, they have spent 99% of evolutionary history in hunter-gatherer societies. Generation after generation, for 10 million years, natural selection slowly sculpted the human brain, favoring a circuitry that was good at solving the day-to-day problems of Stone Age or hunter-gatherer ancestors. Problems like finding mates, hunting animals, gathering plant foods, good habitat, etc. So the circuits that we have are designed to solve those kind of problems. They're designed to leave more children. So we are descended from that. But the Buddhist wisdom urges digging up the root of thirst. That is a timeless philosophy. It is not necessarily abstinence, but cultivation of general austere attitude towards material things. Dhammapada says, cut down the whole forest of desires, not a tree only. So herein lies the greater wisdom regarding the addictiveness and ephemerality of pleasure. There are scattered clues in ancient philosophy that humans striving after pleasure is yoked to self-deception, that the modern theories of evolutionary psychology have started recognizing. So in this day and age of self-centeredness, egotism and individualism, words of Buddha seem to hit the nail on its head. Dhammapada says the fault of others is easily perceived, but that of oneself is difficult to perceive. Buddha negates the existence of an unchanging element in an individual. He takes us to this conclusion through logical deductions about a person's existence and its constituent elements, which are shown to have no fixed or permanent nature. He proceeds very systematically to refute the notion of self. The first argument that everything is in a flux can be applied even today. Our physical forms, emotions, understandings, views are evolving and changing. Sometimes we behave differently in a formal setting and change within minutes when we are with our friends or family. We play different roles in the same slice of time and definitely evolve and change over longer durations. Comprehension of the impermanent nature of existence can help to develop equanimity, detachment, etc. The evolutionary psychologists talk about this reality of self. They say this is the reality of self, that it is always changing, and they are taking a Buddhist stance while doing a secular science. So the playing field of the principle of natural selection, it displays the victory of genetic interest and not the victory of truth. That is what psychology has now recognized, that natural selection is not absolute truth. It is where organisms practice deception widely for self-promotion. For example, some female fireflies in the genus Photurus, they mimic the mating flash of genus Phytinus. And when the male is attracted of a different species which they are mimicking, they eat it up. So this is a study by James E. Lloyd from Ithaca, Cornell University. And there are some harmless snakes which are non-poisonous. They take the form of poisonous snakes. And this kind of a deception is recognized in evolutionary psychology, which is used for survival, and humans are no different. So this grasp of our naturally skewed perspective is bound up with path to correct the distortion. And the eightfold path, the right mindfulness, right concentration, which point to meditation, to correct the biases built in us by natural selection. So without this distinction between therapeutic and spiritual nature of the path, they're kind of converging in some sense, and we are all supposed to move towards what Metta Sutta in Sutta Nipat says, towards an all embracing love for the entire universe, unmarred by hate within, not rousing enmity. Meditation is primarily progressive stages of mental culture, culminating in the attainment of emancipation of mind from all unwholesome emotions. Now, according to the modular theory of brain, there is no conscious self-directing of our behavior. They're saying the same thing. And thoughts are nothing but the modules which are taking control as self-organizing systems. These modules express themselves to us through feelings like jealousy, fear, depression, elation, etc. So the modular view of the mind has some illuminating links with Buddhist meditation. It can help explain the role of modules in vying for attention when people meditate. When one understands these feelings as just a bunch of modules and not core consciousness, it becomes easier to escape their grip. Thus, mind is freed from the affective shackles as desired in Buddhism. Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist meditation are so enmeshed together that the understanding of one is not possible without the other. Embedding the practice of meditation within the larger ethical framework of Buddhism is what constitutes its complete and correct understanding. The application of meditation in clinical regimen does not necessarily require faith in Buddhism as a religion. Yet knowledge of the seminal beliefs or the core principles is desirable. There are many forms of Buddhist meditation, but I think they have been discussed in the inaugural session in much detail. Concentration and mindfulness. Concentration meditation involves focusing on something very intently. While mindfulness, I'll just refer to it as bare attention, literally translates as keeping awareness of the present. Mindfulness is a meditation technique in Buddhist psychology in which attention is systematically expanded to encompass any physical or mental activity from moment to moment with an attitude of detachment and acceptance. Buddhist practice of mindfulness meditation describes 4 applications of contemplating the body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. I will not get into the detail, but the aim of the practice is to get over the unwholesome states of mind and remove the hindrances that obstruct the proper functioning of mind. If in modern psychology, The part of the brain called the default mode network gets active when a person is not engaged in any other mental activity. Brain
Dr.
scans.
V.T. Chaturvedi ji, now you have to conclude.
Yes,
within
sir.
1 minute.
Brain scans have shown that when people meditate, the default mode network gets quieter and less active. This is a study by Brewer, Warrenski et al. And evolutionary psychology helps to discover and understand the design of human mind. The Buddhist ideas like illusory thinking, mind changing the reality for us are subjected to scientific evolution in modern psychology through the twin principles of natural selection and evolution. According to evolutionary psychology primer, the brain circuits are designed to generate behavior that is appropriate to your environmental circumstances. The conscious experience is just the tip of the iceberg, and meditation helps us to dig deeper, be in touch with the reality, and therefore, Buddhism has great potential for self-help and harmonious living. Buddhism says that we discover and harmoniously align ourselves with the hidden reality of the world. Then we will, in some sense, realize our supreme good. And if we do not see ourselves attaining that lofty goal, we shall definitely find and spread some happiness. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Niti, for presenting nicely. And in fact, I was thinking that entire Buddha Dharma is not only entire Buddha Dharma, entire Indian literature, in fact, is very much to be performed, not to be spoken much about. Because you see, Buddha Dharma, Buddha Shasana, meditation, samatha, all these things have to be practiced. That is why Buddha says in Dhammapada, Sahasamapi che vacha, anattapada sanghita, ekam athapadam seyo, yam sutva upasamati. Ekam athapadam seyo, yam sutva upasamati. So in this way, it's very important. But sometimes in order to explain these techniques, we need a good presentation also. So in that way, your paper discussed very important points, because Buddhist meditation and modern challenges, and that is very important. Modern challenge, how modern challenges can be faced by following the Buddhist meditation. Thank you very much for presenting your views in this conference. And now let us move to next speaker. I think it has gone somewhere. So our next speaker is again from Professor Rana Purushottam Singh from Nalanda. Is he present now in this meeting?
Yes, he is present.
Professor Rana Purushottam Singh ji, yes, now he is appearing. Professor Rana Purushottam Singh is heading the Pali Buddhist Studies Department in Nalanda, and he is very active. And he studied Tripitaka and Buddhist literature, and he has his own interpretations. Wonderfully, he interprets. Now I invite Professor Rana Purushottam to present his paper.
Namo Buddhaya. Respected Chairman, sir, my teacher, Professor Bimlendra Kumar ji, my senior, Ram Nakshatra Prasad ji, he is also here, and my friends, this is a greetings from Nalanda. I congratulate my Guruji for selection of this thought-provoking topic. My submission is first to understand the roots of Buddhism, why the Buddha has established the system of vipassana because immediately after getting enlightenment, as his first statement, he said that Yada have patu bhavantu dhamma atapino jhayato brahmanasya athasya kankha bapayanti sabba yato pajanati sahetu dhamma. The last line is very important. Yato pajanati sahetu dhamma. Everything is sahetu, conditional. And those who know first, the meditator knows that the whole world is conditional, dependently originated. And next, to know the roots, hetus. Again in Arya Pariyeshan Sutta, the Buddha, the Blessed One, has explained the nature of the world, the nature of the life. And then at different places in Pali Tripitaka, the Buddha has tried to understand the nature, the reality, and how to achieve, how to gain the exact vidya, knowledge, pragya. In Arya Pariyeshan Sutta, he always says what to know, what not to know. And at different places, and this is a continuous effort, even till today. The scholars of Buddhism, they are striving day by day, moment by moment, to understand the implication, the practicality of Buddha Vachana. Even today, there is a big dialogue, as Nikki. I also congratulate Nikki for her very nice paper, Professor Nikki. The nature of mind, what is the nature of mind? In modern science, in Buddhist science, the nature of mind, both the streams, modern and classical, Buddhist, both streams are on the same, on unanimous conclusion that this is fickle. And because of fickleness of the mind, our life is totally destroyed. And the process of birth and death, the process of rebirth is continued because of the fickleness of mind. And in Upanishad also, our chairman can explain very well. The Upanishad has also given the same treatment to our mind, that is amani bhava, non-minding process. What is the key to the success? Success means the removal of suffering completely. And according to Upanishad, there are many ways, many sentences in Upanishad that leads to the removal of suffering. But the way of the Buddha was very practical and easily accessible to the common mass because of the methods, because of the use of language, because of the method of preaching and movement of Sangha to the all corners of Bharat. So, Amani Bhav is really a bigger tool And in Vipassana technique, that is Anapan. I'm just discussing the alphabets of Vipassana and alphabets of Indian mind sciences. Simple, the primary things of classical Buddhist psychology. Anapan, just concentrating on the breathing. Why? Why this has been established? The answer is very clear in Milind Prashna. Asas pasas kaya sankharati. Of course, the hypothesis has been explained through various examples, but the philosophy behind this one is very practical and very scientific. Asas pasas kaya sankharati. This is the sanskar of the body, the whole life. And you have to understand, with the asas and pasas, the mental condition, the mental constructs are going on. How to control, how to concentrate over the mental conditions and the cultivation of mind. So, this is the thing. And then Satipatthana, Asmriti is very important in Vipassana technique, in Vipassana meditation. And another thing is Satipatthana, 4 satis. I think in the audience, in participants, all belong to Buddhist studies, Pali. Kayanupassana, Vedananupassana, all these 4 steps are here. But the next step is Sati Bala, the strength of mindfulness. That is the ultimate thing. The practice of mindfulness is converted into a power. And power means you have mastery over all these things. Friends, these are the alphabets, and this is very primary things for Vipassana practitioners. And then Sati Bal, Samadhi, you know, Pamukh Lakhana, movement towards the goal. Your each and every effort should be target oriented. And Panya Bal. This is very important. Bal, Panya and Panya Bal are quite different. Panya Bal is the strength of wisdom, which is in your personality, which is a part of your personality because of your Pariyatti, Patipatti and Pativedhan. My Guruji, the order of my Guruji, and this is my responsibility and my duty to obey my Guru's order, that keep yourself attached with the text. That is why I am explaining through text only. So, Sati Bal, Samadhi Bal and Panya Bal, this is 3 tools of correction of your errors in personality. And then through Anapan, you concentrate the minding process, you control the minding process. Because when you are in the process of minding, thinking, there are many negative things, a part of the stream of consciousness. the Chitta Santati. And then real Vipassana starts. What is real Vipassana?
Purushottamji, now slowly you have to conclude within 1 or 2 minutes.
2-3 minutes.
Okay.
Real Vipassana concentrates on sensation, and there is a very good relationship, very intimate relationship between sensation, study of sensation, and medical sciences. And this year's Nobel Prize is based on study of sensation only. And then real Vipassana starts, and from toe to head, top of the head, they just try to understand the sensation, what kind of sensation is going on. And this sensation, because our body is made of millions of cells, and each cell has equal potentiality as the whole body. So through Vipassana, you have to understand the sensation of each and every cell, whether it is negative, it is positive, whatever it is. You have to see it through unminding state. And then you can able to understand the impermanence, the nature of impermanence of the world. And now 30 seconds I would emphasize on Vipassana, a tool for treatment in modern medical science. We have hundreds of experimental reports. We have hundreds of reports of experiments in dozens of medical science in the world, those who have applied Vipassana techniques in their modern treatment. And through Vipassana technique, the wonderful results are coming. And I request the researchers to go through the results of the techniques used by modern medical science, and then you will enjoy the Vipassana, the benefits of Vipassana for correction of our human personality. Namaskar.
Thank you very much, Rana Purushottam Singh ji, for nicely explaining about the Vipassana and mind. These are the topics today, because Buddha always said, as you said, that Buddha always said that Dunniggahassa lahuno. This is actually very, very important everywhere in Buddhist literature. Dunniggahassa lahuno yattakama nipati. This mind is yattakama nipati. It goes wherever it wants. You cannot control it. So this meditation, samatha, is very much connected to the mind. And that is why one should understand the nature of the mind. Buddha again and again tries to tell about the nature of the mind. Yathakama nipatinu. That you should control. Chittasya damatho sadhu chittam dantam sukhava. So that is what actually chittam dantam sukhava. And we have to control mind. Some people did not like when we say control mind, because you cannot altogether control the mind. But you can channelize the mind. But anyway, generally we say dantam. No, dantam means control only. Literally it means dantam. Dantam actually in Sanskrit. So with all these details, you have nicely, whenever through your lecture, we were clearly able to understand actually what message you wanted to convey. So very clearly, you explained the importance of the meditation and samatha in Buddhist literature. Thank you very much, Professor Rana Purushottam Singh. Now, let us go to the next speaker. I think Dr. Dhamma Jyoti from Nalanda will be our next speaker. Now I invite Dr. Dhamma Jyoti, who is also from Nalanda. And your time is starting by 12:50. That means you have 10 to 15 minutes, Venerable Dhamma Jyoti. And now I invite Dhamma Jyoti to start his lecture.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir, for giving me the opportunity particularly Professor Vimlendra sir and our professor from Nalanda and other rest of speakers and erudite scholars giving me this opportunity. My topic definition of kindness in Buddhism. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Mata yata niyam puttam ayusaye kaputtam anurakhe. Evam pi sabbhutesu manasam bhavai aparimanam. Now, metta, the loving kindness, universal loving kindness. Here I collected some important sources from the primary Pali sources regarding the metta. Metta derived from the root mit, to love, in the Sanskrit mitra. Metta in Pali, friend. It denotes love, sympathy, friendliness, active interest in others' happiness and well-being. The word metta mentioned frequently in Pali text in the path of emancipation. Thus, the following phrases are very common. Metta sahagatena chetasikena, with a heart full of love. Mettan karoti, to be friendly. Sympathy with metta chittena, with kind thought. Metta vihari, remaining in loving kindness. The interesting meaning given in the Suttanipata, Atthakatha, hita sukha upanaya kamata, desire of having welfare good of one's fellow man. The practice of metta bhavana is has been advocated in many sutta as a stage of path of deliverance, chet vimuttiya. For instance, in the Udumbarika Sutta, Singanada Sutta of Diganikaya, Nigrodha asked the Buddha, in what way, Lord, does the austerity win the topmost rank and reach of the path, purification? In the reply, he is told that one should take upon oneself fourfold, restrain, and sitting down in the solitude, meditate, letting his mind filled with love pervade on the quarter of the world, and so to the second quarter, and the third and the fourth. Thus he whole wide world obey, below, around, everywhere should be continue pervade with thought of loving kindness, sublime, beyond the measure. Free from hatred, ill will, he should then do same with karuna, mudita, and upekha in turn. In Tevijja Sutta of Diganikaya, Nisaranam, ete also vyapadasa vyadidam metta cheta vimuttiya. Emancipation of the heart through the loving love, brother, is how you become the deliverance from the wickedness and aversion. The same statement is being occur in Dhammapada. The hatred never ceased by hatred, only by loving kindness and aversion ceased. There are many other instances where the metta is mentioned in Pali text, which set in out the high important point of the doctrine of kindness is mentioned in numerical category of two, ahimsa and vyapada. In the Jayamangala words mentioned, when the intoxicated elephant Nalagiri was rushed toward the Buddha to attack him, the Buddha radiated ray of loving kindness. As a result, completely intoxicated Nalagiri elephant was subdued and fell on the feet of the Buddha. In the Khandaka Paritta Sutta, the incident a certain monk from Savatthi was bitten by a snake and died. Then the incident was informed the Buddha. Then the Buddha advised them, if this monk now practice loving kindness for the snakes, he would not be bitten by snakes and die. The Buddha instructed the monks to show loving kindness to all the snakes and reptiles. Name of the some snakes are given, such as Virupakhe, Erapatte, Chabyaputte, Kanha Gotama, Cha, and he promulgated a rule. Anujanami Vikave Imang Chattari Ahi Rajkulan Mettena Chittena Pahari. I allow you, monk, these snakes should be protected and show loving kindness to them. One should show loving kindness without with feet apadake. He says that one should not should show loving kindness to apadake, means the snakes which has no legs. Apadake me mettang dipadake, the which has 2 legs, feet. Chatupadehi me mettang must mettang bahupadehi, the 4 legs and many legs. All these types of animals should be show the loving kindness. Sabbe satta, sabbe pana, sabbe bhuta kevala. May all beings, creatures, and all are both in their total. Sabbe bhadrani pasanti, may all see the prosperity. Ma kinchi pamagama, nothing bad comes to anyone. The kindness is highly regarded in all religious systems, but Buddhist definition of kindness is much wider and deeper. Kindness that the Buddha advocate goes beyond all the boundaries. The Metta Sutta of Uddakapat Pali gives the Buddhist definition of kindness in the following manner. Matayatha niyang puttang ayusai kaputta manurag. Evam pisabba bhutesu mana sambhavaya pariman. In the same way, a mother would protect her only child with her life. So also one should develop the measureless thought of loving kindness towards all beings. Mettancha sabba lokasmi mana sambhavaya pariman. Uddang ado triyancha asambhadam averang asampadam. Towards the entire world, one should cultivate the boundless of thought of friendliness. Tittancharan nisinnova sayanova yavata samigadimit. Etang santi naritai brahma etang viharang idamav. Standing, walking, sitting, lying, as long as one should practice loving kindness without laziness. So Metta Sutta, in the Metta Sutta, it is that given the practice for the monks, recluse monks, and all the those who want to practice the loving kindness, there is given one sutta called Metta Sutta. Anupamaya sabbe sattanam sukha kamakam. In the similar way, one should bring the desire of happiness. Pasito khamato mettang sabba satte subhavaya. Having seen, one should gradually develop the friendliness to all the beings.
You.
May benefactor be happy. The neutral person and even an enemy also be happy. Imami gamaketami satta hontu sukhi sada, in the village and surrounding field. May all beings be happy. Tato branch rajyesu chakkavale sujantuno. Those who enter countries, people throughout the universe. Samanta chakkavalesu sattanam panino. Throughout the entire universe, may countless beings, creatures be happy. Tatha iti puma cheva, ariya anariva. All the men, women, noble and ignoble one. Deva, nara, apayatta, tatha, dasa susacha. God, man, the fallen creature, like all beings be 10 direction, be happy. So according to Anguttara Nikaya, Buddha part Pali text, there are 11 benefits of practicing metta, loving kindness. Monks free from the mind and friendliness meditation. The Buddha says there are 11 benefits or the advantage of practicing metta, loving kindness. Sukham supati, one sleeps well. Sukham patipunjati, one awake happily. Napapakam sukhinam pasiti, one does not see any bad dreams. Manusyanam piyo hoti, one is desire of dear for human beings. Amanusyanam piyo hoti, one is dear for non-human beings. Deva rakati, God protect one. Nasa agingva visangva khamati, neither fire, poison, sword can affect him. Tuttam sittam samadhi, one can concentrate mind quickly. Mukhavanno vipasidati, one complexion becomes pleasant. Asamullo karankaroti, one die consciously. Brahmaloko pagohoti, one birth in a higher existence such as Brahmaloka. So this way there are innumerable number of benefits, advantage of taking metta bhavana. And Buddha advised that monks are supposed to practice meditation. Among the meditation, if one practice the loving kindness, what the devotee offer dana, the depth of dana will be free from. It means among the meditation, the virtuous get a lot of merit is the metta, loving kindness meditation. Of course, we have Brahma Vihara, Metta, Karuna, Mudita, Upekha. The basic one, the primary one is the Metta, the loving kindness. The loving kindness should start from oneself and gradually it spread to the friend, relatives, natives, and gradually throughout the world. So at the last, Buddha even said, you must have a love to your enemies. So with this short my paper, I would like to conclude my paper, and may you all be happy and healthy. And thank you very so much for giving me this opportunity. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Thank you, Venerable Sadhu. Thank you, Venerable Dr. Dhammajyoti. You have very nicely presented your views about the metta today, loving kindness. Because in meditation, not only other things are important, but the loving kindness is very important for achieving meditation. You have explained that. And also you said that about the kindness, there are several interpretations, several descriptions in ancient literature, but Buddhist description of loving kindness is much more wider and broader. That is true, actually. In Buddhism, this Maitri and Karuna, both actually are given more and more importance. Karuna is given more importance in Mahayana. For Bodhisattva, Karuna is very, very important, and Maitri, loving kindness, is. And also, you have very nicely explained the searching from Tripitakas. What happens if one has the loving kindness? His face will be like this, and his body will be like this, and that's a wonderful description you have given. So, in spite of repeatedly, Buddha's telling repeatedly, people are not able to understand this. Now, we are all not able to understand, but only few people could understand. Because as I told that Buddhism is to be practiced. All these things have to be practiced, not to be lectured and not to be talked much. So thank you very much, Dr. Dhamma Jyoti from Nalanda for your lecture today.
Thank you.
I think now this is my time to say a few words, and my presentation also included in this session only. But after hearing 4 presentations, I became speechless. What to speak? Because I was already telling that speech is not much important. Practice is very important. And still, I had to say, for the formality, few words, because today's topic is such an attractive and very much high level topic is samatha and vipassana, and its application also, how to implement them, the application of the samatha and vipassana in human life. So these are very important things. That is why, just for the saying few words, I also conclude within my time limit. As I was telling you, I basically speak the role of mind in practicing the samatha and vipassana. That is very, very clear that there is a unavoidable and perfect role of mind in practicing samatha and vipassana, because a small amount of practice can help us achieve the samatha, and plenty of theories and lectures. A small amount of practice can help us achieve the samatha and vipassana. Small amount of practice is enough. Then the plenty of theories and plenty of lectures. That is what I just now I read. Sahasamapi te vacha anartha pada sanghita ekam athapadam seyo. Today, Sanskrit yogic systems became well known worldwide, but less known about the systems of meditation practiced by Buddhists. Even though this particular form of mental culture has continued for the past 2,500 years, people are still not fully aware of it. Many people are aware of that, but not people. When I say that everybody, in my view, many people are already aware worldwide these things, samatha and vipassana. They are practicing also. In fact, they are practicing more and more than us, I think. The reason for the lack of, but still people are not aware of the samatha and vipassana. The reason for the lack of precise knowledge on this important subject is difficulty in gaining access to authentic source of information. Because people do not know what is said exactly in Pali literature, what is said exactly in Sanskrit Buddhist literature about the samatha and vipassana. In Pali, meditation is known as the bhavana. This bhavana is an integral part of the Buddhist religious doctrine and practice. The references to theories and practices of this bhavana are scattered throughout the Buddhist canonical texts and commentaries. There's so many places you will find the references of the bhavana in canonical texts and commentaries, which form a vast corpus of literature in Pali and Sanskrit. In fact, the study of the mind in ancient Indian literature could be considered one of the most interesting subjects of investigation. If you see the ancient literature, you will find this very important fact I'm telling, important point, not only in the Pali Buddhist literature or Sanskrit Buddhist literature, everywhere in ancient literature, I'm saying, even if you take the Prakrit literature, our ancestors gave considerable significance about the subjects like mind and meditation, particularly mind. Indians always gave enough attention to the study of the mind. The reason for this importance of the mind in human history is very obvious, that because they knew that mind is the reason for everything. Manayeva manushyanam karanam bandha mokshayo. For the bandha and moksha, mind is a reason. The actual speculation of the mind started from Upanishads, and Upanishads never viewed the human being as the mere composition of the physical element. They say that the man is composite of psychological and physical elements. Later, this developed, the cognitive analysis of the chitta developed in Nyaya Shastra, in Buddhist logic also, in other Nyaya Shastra also, the ancient Vedic Nyaya Shastra also. The analysis of the chitta was started in India, as it was felt very important by ancient Indians. When we study our literature, we realize that buddhi differs from the chitta. Through the senses, mind comes into the contact with the external objects. Through the senses, mind gets contact with the external objects. Indriyen indriyarthohi samanaskena gruhyate. So indriyas are perceiving the indriyartha, but samanaska, when mind is included, means mind is associated with indriyas, only then indriyas can perceive the indriyartha. That is the meaning of this. Indriyen indriyarthohi samanaskena gruhyate. So that is the importance of the mind. We know there is a clear distinction between the mind and body. In Yogacara Buddhism, we find that Yogacharyans gave so much importance to mind. Pali Nikayas refer to only 6 types of consciousness, like Chakku Vinyana, Sota Vinyana, Ghana Vinyana, Jihva Vinyana, Kaya Vinyana, Mano Vinyana. But the Yogacharyans have increased this number by adding the Alaya Vinyana, the Alaya Vinyana to the Buddhist theory of the mind. The Lankavasara Sutra calls the whole system of mental functions Chittakalpa, or Vijnanakaya. This is Vijnanakaya, Lankavatara says. The great Acharya and great scholar Vasubandhu has made the philosophical expression of Buddhist idealism. The Vidyapti Matrata Siddhi, consisting of 2 chapters, Vimshika and Krimshika, by Vasubandhu, has been considered to be the philosophical justification of idealism. So in this way, mind can defile or purify one. So mind can defile or purify one. So mind is the bitterest enemy and the greatest friend to oneself. It can be bitterest enemy to you and greatest friend to you. The same thing was said. That's what we learned from this, from Dhammapada. Buddha says that what harm may do a foe means enemy, what harm may do an enemy or a hunter to a hunted, what harm may do a foe to us and hunter to hunted, same ill-directed mind can do still greater harm. Ill-directed mind. Michha panihitam chitta. That is right. Samma panihitam and michha panihitam. Ill-directed mind. So such an elaborate and clear description of the mind can be found in Buddhist literature. What good neither mother or father nor any other relative can do, a well-directed mind can do. A well-directed mind can do more welfare, bring more welfare and more happiness, more prosperity to us than mother and father, because mother is above of all and father is above of all. Mata Gurutara Bhumi, Pitocha Tharascha Khat. So that's what said in Yaksha Prashnas. So, but the well-directed mind can do more better than both of them. So if therefore one speaks or acts with the wicked mind, you see everything, that is why Buddha says in the beginning of Dhammapada itself, mind is the forerunner of the deeds. Forerunner of the deeds. Mind is chief and everything is made by the mind. If therefore one speaks and acts with the wicked mind, you may deceive others, but pain pursues you. And the contrary, if one speaks or acts with the pure mind, in general, people may misunderstand you, but happiness follows you. So this is the eternal law in the beginning of Dhammapada itself. Buddha says this is very much related to the mind. In Samyutta Nikaya also, Buddha says that by mind, the world is led. By mind, world is led. By mind, it is drawn. And all men own the sovereignty of the mind. Buddha says this mind, O monks, is luminous. Actually, original appearance of this mind is luminous. Originally, mind is luminous, prakashamay. But it is defiled by taints. Ye kalushit ho gaya hai sansar. Defiled by the taints that come from outside. What actually Buddha says originally in Samyutta Nikaya is pabhassaramidam bhikkave chittam. Pabhassaramidam bhikkave chittam. Tancha agantukehi upakkilesehi upakkilitham. It is not actually upakkilitham by the nature. It is pabhassaramidam bhikkave. That you see, when Buddha says we are very happy. So we understand the nature of our mind, original nature of the mind. So we are not worried, oh, actually whatever defilements, whatever problems in mind are coming from the outside. That is not the original form of the mind. So Buddha says perfectly that pabhassaramidam bhikkave chittam. He gives a excellent inspiration, a kind of enthusiasm to us. You don't worry that actually your chittam is basically pabhassara. Pabhassaramidam bhikkave chittam tam hi agantukehi upakkilesehi upakkilitham. But uneducated people can't understand this reality. So they fall into the trap of the mind. Uneducated means it is not that, not this college and university education here. Because we say that even after learning so many shastras, one can be very low-standard person. Shastranyadhityapi bhavanti murkha. It is said in Sanskrit. Shastranyadhityapi bhavanti murkha. So in this way, here educated means educated with this level of understanding. So that is a kind of education. And those who do not have such education, they fall into the trap of the mind. For them, there is no cultivation of the mind. Therefore, the total purification of mind is ultimate aim of Buddhism. Chittam vimuchi me. You can find such statements. My mind is relieved. Chittam vimuchi me. That was a joyous statement, joyous uttering of the Arhants. Tato chittam vimuchi me. So, when chitta is vimukta, then everything is vimukta. That's what chitta is a very important element. It is from the point of view that Buddhists are interested in the study of the mind, because that is very much important. Not from this, because why Buddhists are, after Buddha, Buddhist acharyas and Buddhists are interested in the mind, why they are interested in the study of Buddha? Not from the psychological point of view. This is the point of view why Buddhists emphasize on the importance of the mind. The Pali term for the mind is chitta. It is chitta or cheta, we can say. Both you can find. Chitta is derived from the chiti. Chitta is derived from the word chiti. It is a root chiti. To think. Chiti is a think. So that is why chitta. Manas means mana. Mana means mananam. That is also a kind of a contemplation thinking. So chitta has an awareness of objects. Cheteti chittam. That has the awareness of the objects. Actually, it is not that which thinks of an object as the term implies. It is like in English one says, it rains. It is not like that. Chitta may be defined as the awareness of the object. That's why you can find the Shantideva describes so much about the Bodhichitta in Bodhicharya Avatara in a lucid manner. In his work, in his great work, Bodhicharyavatara, Bodhicitta develops by the practice of the training of the mind in compassion. Bodhicitta develops. How Bodhicitta develops to a person? That's what I was telling earlier, that Karuna is very much important in Mahayana. Bodhicitta develops by the training of the mind in compassion. See, we have trained mind in so many ways, but we had to train our mind in compassion. That's what Mahayana says. Shantideva says in Bodhicharyavatara. So we never tried this. We had to try to train our mind in compassion. You see, this compassion gives a lot of benefits. Ultimately, after studying Bodhicharyavatara, you will understand that the person who is having this compassion, he will win the world. But that's what Buddha says, Sahasamapi. Yo sahasam sahasena sangami manuse jini. Like this, all this. Same thing. When one rests in the nature of his mind, the state of absolute of his heart, then his heart opens and wisdom and compassion naturally emanate from it. So when you open up your mind and you start compassion, showing compassion on the people, worldly people, naturally the wisdom emanates from it. Then only wisdom emanates from you. Then only wisdom comes out of it. As long as you are not having loving kindness and compassion, you may be studying so many scriptures, but wisdom cannot emanate from your mind. In the practice of bodhicitta, one can go back to a space of primordial purity. See, when you practice, then the mind goes to the state of primordial purity. In that ultimate state, all concepts dissolve. He can see the things freshly. All concepts dissolve and he can see the things fresh.